And we have, our group, and we're all, plated up with machine guns and whatever else we have to try to deter, this kind of, narco-terrorism.
I remember talking to you after UFC 135 when John Jones beat Rampage Jackson. You said you weren't impressed with John Jones. Since then, he beat Lyoto Machida. Obviously, you're a good friend and student. Are you impressed with him now? Has he earned your respect as a fighter?
Listen, I respect every fighter, every single fighter that gets out there in the octagon and fights. So I respect all of them. What I said was, I don't think that his punches and his kicks landed well. John is a very good wrestler, okay? Do I think he's a good puncher, kicker? No, not at all. And that's just my opinion. He's a very big guy. To me, he's like a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight. He's, 6'4" something, and he's very athletic and very strong. Is he a better fighter than Lyoto? No, not even close.
A lot of people...
But that doesn't mean we can't win.
Right. And a lot of people want to see, the dream fight, and we had Ed Soares on earlier in the show, Anderson versus John Jones. Do you think that'll ever happen?
I hope not.
Why?
It's just such a huge difference in strength and size and weight.
But maybe they have a catchweight fight, something like that. Like, don't you think that would be fascinating for fans to see?
I really don't know what, is fascinating for fans to see, but like I said, I really think this guy's more of a heavyweight, and I really do. And I heard, and I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
I heard he said that if he won his last fight, which he did, that he was going to then challenge Junior Dos Santos. Well, that would be great. He should do that.
Yeah.
If he really said that, he should do that.
He has a couple more fights at 205. He's going to fight Dan Henderson next. And then he says he wants to fight a heavyweight, but it sounds like the UFC doesn't want him to go up to heavyweight. They want him to stick at 205 and dominate there like Anderson has at 185.
He's cleaned out the division. There's nobody left to fight him. So are you sure UFC is saying that?
That's what he said himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there's nobody left. After Dan Henderson, who is there? There's almost nobody left.
That is very true. So are you do you watch all the pay-per-views and stuff? Because it sounds like you have your finger on the pulse here of the sport. Well,
yeah, I do. I do watch, and a lot of the people that are what I consider to be fight gurus, and from a lot of the warriors to some of the managers and gurus, they're close friends of mine, and of course I watch and listen and participate.
Have any of the people around you, I know you have a lot of friends in the sport, have they told you about the hatred that I've received for sticking up for you and your honor? Because I've received a lot of hate for this, a lot of heat.
Well, I've never heard that before, and I apologize for that.
It's a pleasure.
I'm not sure what that's about, but I don't know where there's even room for hate in this arena, and why. I don't get that. I really don't.
Do you think there are a lot of naysayers? There are a lot of people who say to me, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." There's a lot of people who are quick to judge. Do you think that's the problem?
Well, I think that's always the problem wherever you go. And my attitude is, there are the people who have never fought in their life, who love to talk a lot, and there are the people who've dedicated their life to fighting. And most of the guys who've dedicated their lives to fighting are not big on bad-mouthing other people. They usually keep their opinions to themselves and concentrate on perfecting themselves, their spiritual self and their physical self as a fighter and a warrior. That's a real warrior. Real warrior is not somebody who walks around, judging and criticizing and hating other people. And so that's my opinion on that.
Will you be in Anderson's corner come UFC 148 in just a couple of weeks?
I don't know if I'll be in his corner, but I am planning on being there, and I've just trained him recently, and I'm planning on, I think he's in Brazil right now, so as soon as he comes to America, I'm going to jump in with him and give him a bunch more stuff if I can.
And just a couple more things for you, and we really appreciate the time very much. Have you noticed, I want to ask you this because you're someone who's tasted fame all over the world, recognizable all over the world. I asked Ed about this, but I think you'd probably be a better person to ask. Anderson is getting so popular in Brazil. Cover of Rolling Stone, he's got all these endorsements. Now, you were in a great commercial with him, a Budweiser commercial that fans in the United States could see online. What have you told him about remaining focused? Even though he's 37, he's approached sort of the tail end of his career, but not sort of forgetting where he came from, not getting a big head, not buying into the fame, all that stuff. Have you had a serious sit down with him to explain to him what could happen if you buy into all of that?
I mean, in my own way, we've talked a lot about that. For example, he has told me that when all this is over, he probably wants to become a police officer.
Wow.
And so, that kind of goes to show you where he's really thinking and what he's really thinking,
And do you feel as though he has changed from the guy that you met many moons ago?
With me, he's always very, 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 very humble.
Okay.
He either fears me or pretends to fear me, and certainly has a lot of respect and humility with me. And he's just a consummate gentleman, humble, great student and great friend. I've never seen him behave arrogant in any way, shape, or form. To me, he's just like, just the way I would like any of my students or friends to be.
He once said that he was going to retire at 35. He's 37 now. Do you have any indication as to when he will actually leave the sport?
He has said to me before, and I don't know if, I'm not going to hold him to this because everybody's lives change. He has said to me that he probably is only going to do a few more fights, so we'll see.
A few? Do you think that's like 5, or do you think it's actually going to be less?
At the time he was talking about what he was contracted to do, and I don't remember how many fights that was on the contract, but I'd be surprised if he does more than 5 more fights.
Have you ever considered doing commentating? I think you'd be very good at that.
Well, I've never considered that. I'm not, I'm a little too shy for that kind of stuff, I think.
Maybe you could be like my co-host on this show. We could break down the fights. It'd be the least, after everything I've done. Okay, one last thing I wanted to ask you. And by the way, what's the proper way? Is it master or sensei that you prefer as far as your title?
I mean, it depends on what country you're from. Like, Anderson calls me master. And, most of the Japanese people are from that tradition. They call me sensei or shihan.
Oh.
So.
I think sensei, Steven Seagal, with the 3 S's, it just sort of rolls off the tongue,
There you go. Well, you're the commentator, see?
Okay, I wanted to ask you, there's been this sort of story that's been passed around, and I like to get to the bottom of things. I'm sure you can appreciate that. You versus Judo Gene LaBelle. What exactly happened on the set of that movie?
I don't even know if he's still alive. Is he still alive?
Actually, we just had him on the show like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I never knew this about him. Either he is a pathological liar or he had somebody, making up these stories. He came over to my trailer, and I was with a guy called Conrad Palmisano, who is still a legend and one of the greatest stunt coordinators in the history of Hollywood. And we were standing there, we were just talking about moves and stuff like that. And we were just doing some stretching. And, he was showing me, how you can stretch, or he wanted to stretch my back, and he stretched my back, and then I just kind of, flipped over the top of him and said thank you for that. There was never ever any confrontation with him ever.
Never.
In any way, shape, or form, and I swear to God on my children, they're the most sacred thing to me in this life. And so if he said that, he is a pathological scumbag liar.
So where does this come from? Sorry.